Nikki Haley is scheduled to announce, according to multiple reports, on February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, just a couple of weeks from now, that she will be officially contending in the 2024 Republican primary, joining, and I didn't even know he was in there, John Bolton, who evidently announced at some point, and Donald Trump, with the expectation of Pompeo, Pence, maybe Tim Scott. Certainly, I think that Ron DeSantis is going to run. All of those figures stepping into the fray. And that ties me into this, Buck. I saw this quote come out from Donald Trump, and I'm curious how you would analyze this. But Trump on Truth Social is stepping up his battle with Ron DeSantis. We played you the audio yesterday where DeSantis, I think, took a pretty, kind of a little bit under the radar shot at Trump by saying the people render a judgment on re-election. In my case, meaning DeSantis saying, in my case, I won by 19 points. Trump obviously did not win in 2020. And Trump has just posted on Truth Social, the real Ron is a all caps rhino globalist who closed quickly down Florida and even its beaches, loved the vaccines, and wasted big money on testing. How quickly people forget.
So this is going to be an issue. We're going to always look to what we know, right? I mean, if Trump says, Ron doesn't have the persona, the skills, the expertise to run the country, people can argue that one way or the other. But when Trump says that Ron is guilty of shutting down super early and not doing a good job on COVID and loving the vaccines, he is going directly into the strength of Ron DeSantis, the strongest single area. I was fleeing to Florida in the summer of 2020 personally because of what Ron DeSantis did in the state. Okay. So, we can't get into this. Who do you believe? Me or your lying eyes situation with Trump on this stuff. It's not going to go well. There are other areas where he can make he can say, Trump's saying, I'm the only one who can win. I'm the only one who can govern. I'm the only one who can. Those are all areas where I think, he's got the upper hand. He does. Trump saying Ron DeSantis was bad on COVID and liked the vaccines, but Trump said that the vaccine saved 100 million lives a week ago. So he's got to pick his lane here because we are paying attention. We are seeing what's going on.
I think it's the worst single avenue of attack Donald Trump could have on Ron DeSantis.
I mean, this is like saying Glenn Youngkin is too short. Glenn Youngkin is like 6'9", okay? He's not too short. Say what you want about it.
It is. And to me, what it does is reinforce, frankly, Trump's failures on COVID, because you can criticize Ron DeSantis for a lot, right? That's what politics is. You get criticized on a variety of different fronts. If you told the DeSantis people, where do you want Trump to fight the battle of the 2024 presidential nominating fight, on whether DeSantis treated COVID too seriously and locked down too aggressively, that's the lane.
Why have 350,000 people moved to Florida in the last 2.5 years? We all know why. Because of what Florida did during COVID. This is the single weakest, and it's, dude, you and I, we voted for Trump. We like Trump. I like Donald Trump as a person. You like Donald Trump. He did a great job in office as president. He's got to go after the things that are going to make sense and going to resonate. I don't know who's advising him right now, but whoever's advising him in the way he's going after DeSantis is not serving him well, honestly.
Look, DeSantis insisted that every single school in Florida be open and that no one be required to wear masks in July and August of 2020, Buck. That isn't, the kids in Philadelphia and parts of California are still wearing masks to this day. This is the single worst avenue we could attack him. I also think it elevates DeSantis because right now Trump's in the lead in many states, certainly in national polling. But I think when Trump is attacking a guy who hasn't even announced for the office yet, one, it looks like he's afraid of him, in my opinion. Now, I don't think Trump's afraid of anybody, but I think that's how it comes off. And two, I think he's choosing to attack him in the worst possible space.
Yeah, look, you and I both know this from just being a public person who gets attacked. They're the people who attack you, even who are public people themselves, and you ignore because it's just not, when Keith Olbermann, attacks you
MSNBC,
or me, which he likes to do,
all-star,
he's sad. I feel badly. He's a sad old man. No one cares. There's nothing. So it's not worth getting into it with him. But occasionally somebody will throw a jab or a right cross at you, and it's go time, right? You're kind of saying, Trump is kind of saying that he thinks that Ron is the guy that he has to throw shots at first, which is indicative of a concern over the dynamic right now and the momentum. And I just think that to attack Ron on COVID is very. I mean, look. Does anyone? I don't know what.
We'll open up phone lines. I mean,
does anyone think that that's actually
a
valid? Because Trump was angry at Georgia for opening too early.
Yes,
I spoke to the president in the Oval in May of 2020 about COVID, and I was begging him, sir, you got to stop with these. He let Fauci take over. I hate to say it, Fauci and Birx were calling the shots, and early on you could say that's not his fault because they were the experts, etc. By May, June 2020, it had to be, he should have ousted them. They should have been sidelined. So if this is going to be a fight over who handled COVID better, it's got to be a fight over who handled, for Trump, China trade, the economy, the border. Those are areas where Trump can do some victory laps. COVID, not so much.
800-282-2882. Maybe some of you disagree and think that DeSantis is vulnerable there. Buck, my general position is, it's hard to judge anybody on March of 2020 because it was such a total and complete cluster, and there was some time there where DeSantis shut down beaches and that was happening everywhere in the nation. But by April and May, DeSantis was leading one of the freest states in the country, and that is just, I think, the single worst area where Trump could be attacking him.
There were people before DeSantis' reelection. There were governors in far more red states, meaning just, they totally Republican top to bottom, who refused to protect people from vaccine mandates in the private sector. Ron DeSantis said, nah, not in my state. You're not doing that. You're not forcing shots people don't need into their arms on pain of firing them from their job. There are anti-discrimination laws. There are a lot of employment laws in the books. Some governors wanted to take big money from big pharma. Some governors had other things in mind. Ron was good on this one.
Yeah, and Buck, I'll just say from my personal experience, I moved my whole family to Florida in May of 2020 and lived down there for that month. Kids were out of school. We spend a lot of time in Florida. And DeSantis was really good in May of 2020. All the restaurants were opening up. By May of 2020, Florida was basically 100%. Hotels were open, basically 100% back to normal. How many places in America can you say that about? I think it's hard to attack him.
If you're going to criticize Tom Brady, probably best not to say he doesn't know how to throw a football, right?
Or he didn't win enough Super Bowls. He lost 3 Super Bowls. That's true. He won 7. But what Trump's doing is like going after Brady because he lost too many Super Bowls.
Just note, though, that Trump is actually putting out some really good videos. For example, play clip 10 here. He's talking about Title IX, no parent having their child forced to assume a new gender. Play clip 10.
The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parent's consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end.
Clay, to me, the short policy videos he's putting out have been right on target. The attacks on DeSantis, I think, are just objectively not landing the way that he would want them to. But the videos seem to be on point.
His video policies are 100% right. What he is saying there, no men should be competing against women. Overwhelming majorities of the public agree with. You shouldn't be able to suddenly flip your gender and certainly parents of kids that are trying to do that are entitled to know it. He's right on all that, which is why I think there's a miscalculation on the DeSantis. Buck, you put up a poll. All of you out there listening to us right now can go vote in it. Lay out the poll and what the results are showing so far.
Well, this is just based on folks who are using Twitter and wise enough for Twitter users to follow me. You got to be following Clay and Buck. Clay, Travis, and Buck Sexton. We have 2 separate accounts. You should be following us. We also have a Clay and Buck account, which is fun. But we have almost 7,000 votes in. 88% say that the attacks on DeSantis are flailing. 12% say they are landing.
So again, any Twitter poll we're not claiming is representative sample of the entire nation. But if 88% of people, and you just put this poll up about 5 minutes ago, are all reacting and saying that he is flailing, that gives you some snapshot of what the Twitter audience following us is saying. Now, we opened up phone lines 800-282-2882. Mary in Ohio, what do you think about Trump going after DeSantis?
So I loved Trump as a president. He outworked everybody. He had great policies, but the fact is that he has been smeared so bad by the media, I don't think he's reelectable, honestly.
So who would you vote for? I mean, obviously, we're just now starting to find out who the nominees are going to be. Who do you like in 24?
DeSantis.
Okay.
I vote for DeSantis 1,000 times.
Thank you for the call, Mary. And look, just want to get people's reactions here. Jordan in North Carolina. Jordan, what do you think?
What's up, guys? Amazon driver Jordan. My thing is the big issue with Trump is love him, greatest president in my lifetime. But the problem is say DeSantis runs and beats Trump and gets the nomination, I do not think for a second that Trump will back DeSantis. Almost kind of like a Teddy Roosevelt thing. Correct me if I'm wrong historically, but almost like wanting to run as like a third party, which would completely guarantee the Democrats would win. Like no unification. You know what I'm saying?
That's the fear, Buck. Thank you for the call, Jordan. Be safe out on the road. Amazon driver, we know how you guys are everywhere.
Can I just say,
that's the fear.
Amazon drivers, we often say truck drivers, thank you so much. Amazon drivers, thank you so much. Just as a side note, I think I have probably had hundreds of hours of my life, if not thousands, saved by the fact that you could have so many things delivered to you. It's a remarkable age we live in, I'm just saying. So thank you to all the folks who deliver the packages, because I hate shopping. I shop on my phone for everything. Anyway.
There's a story out, and I need to find it, where Politico basically polled and said how many Trump supporters would vote for him third party. And it would be enough, as Jordan in North Carolina, Amazon truck driver, just said, to potentially hand whichever Democrat were running for the office, the presidency.
I see. Here's why I don't think Trump would do that. I don't believe Trump would do that because I think, look, Trump is a man of healthy ego. I think we could say he's a man of healthy ego. Maybe a tremendous understatement. He did something in 2016 that set the Republican Party in a new direction, changed the way the right does politics, how we fight, how we think about the use of power on our side. There is a lot of legacy there. No matter what happens here in this primary, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm trying to look at how this will go down in history, Donald Trump has that legacy intact, that he did something, that he had a great first term as president. COVID basically, and all the shenanigans from the Democrats stole it. I mean, it was a lightning strike, meteor, comet hitting the earth kind of situation, and he won. And he lost. Biden won. If he were to run third party and hand 4 more years to the Democrats in the process, he destroys his legacy, and I think he knows that. So I don't believe, and I think I honestly think he loves his country too much for that. I do believe that. So while it is we're going to talk about it as a possibility, I think at the end of the day, Donald Trump knows that his legacy, his name, his brand are bigger than running a third-party spoiler candidacy to just let the Democrats, push transgender surgery for kids for 4 more years. You know what I mean? I don't think he'll do it.
I get it. That's a fear that's lingering out there. Heather in North Carolina weighing in as well. Heather, what do you think?
I agree with you guys. I think that Donald Trump does have a legacy, and I think that he did a lot of great things as president. And I think that he did wake up the American people by not being politically correct and by calling out the left. However, I do think if he's going to be successful in the future, he needs to stop the personal attacks, attack the policy, and leave the person alone.
You know, I think, by the way, I think that's very astute analysis. Thank you very much for calling in. I would say, Clay, you know what would play to Trump's strengths here? Even running against DeSantis, and we're going to be doing a lot of on the fly strategy here for all kinds of candidates, and just be honest with everybody about what we're seeing and how it seems to be playing out. Trump's saying Ron is a great governor. Ron has done a phenomenal job on COVID. Ron can't win at the national level against this Democrat machine. I can. Ron will have his time, and I'll work with Ron when the time comes. That to me is Trump's smartest approach, right? To be because you're inherently the bigger man, right? Trump basically saying, I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi and I still have some things I got to teach young Skywalker. That, I think people could say, maybe. But Trump saying, yeah, Skywalker sucks. That guy can't swing a lightsaber to save his life. That's not going to fly. That's not going to work.
No, that's not a bad angle at all. And if you think about it, Trump, I think's best pitch is, I've been president before. I will hit the ground running on day one. And if you think they're going to attack me, so what? I can only serve 4 more years. Now, DeSantis can stay till 2026. Guys, I'll endorse who I think the best candidate is for 2028. And I think it may well be Ron DeSantis. But guess what? I'm the best by far in 2024. That is a pitch that I think a lot of people would respond to.
Yes. Trump co-opting DeSantis into the broader movement gives him far less place to run. Saying Ron DeSantis did a bad job on COVID he's just going to get laughed at. Trump is going to get laughed at if he does that. People are not, because there are too many of us who experience firsthand what was actually going on in Florida during COVID, which was, it was, like I said, it was leaving East Germany and arriving in West Germany circa 1965. I mean, it was just remarkable. And so that's the worst possible attack is one that everyone knows is false.
Yes. And that also ties in with Trump still is bragging about the vaccine himself. So how can you attack that's a bad battleground for Trump.
I think honestly, I don't know if Trump's people are listening right now. They should be. The template, if he wants to win this primary, is to be big, to show that he's the elder statesman, bigger than the petty. All of his ire goes against, it's the same thing with you and me. We never sit here and trash people on the right. Some people on the right annoy me. Politicians we criticize, but other people that are doing what we do in this business, we support them. We're friends with other people on the right. We try to help them sell their books because we're about the movement, right? We want the movement to succeed. Trump takes that approach to the Republican Party and to the right and shows himself to be above the petty nonsense, but still the right guy for the job. That, I think, is compelling to enough voters that he can get it done. The shots in the kidneys when DeSantis isn't looking, that's not gonna work.
JB in Texas, what do you think?
For carrying the torch, man. The one thing, I'm going to vote for DeSantis or Trump, whomever the nominee is. But something that hasn't been said is Trump's already fought the fight. He can afford to fight the left. I'm afraid if DeSantis gets in there too early, I don't think he can fight the left economically. I mean, the litigations and politically he's fine, but economically, I think Trump's stronger.
Wait, do you mean you personal finances or?
Yeah, that your argument is that if he's getting sued, that Trump's a billionaire and he has the resources, and DeSantis wouldn't.
Yeah, that may not be a valid point, but it's something to think about, I think.
Well, look, this is an interesting angle. I think Trump, going back to his 2016 campaign, and to a certain extent in 2020, the billionaire status for Trump matters in this way, Buck, and I'm curious if you would agree. It basically means Trump doesn't have to do anything to curry favor with anyone. He's already super rich. And so this idea of, he's going to be like the Clintons or the Obamas or other people who were not wealthy and then got very wealthy in politics, Trump is already wealthy. More money to him is not significant. DeSantis doesn't really have any assets. I mean, I think, he published, I think he still has loan debt from going to get his law degree. I think he's only worth a couple of $100,000. I'm not concerned about all the frivolous lawsuits that will rain down. He'll have enough resources to be able to defend himself there. But what DeSantis doesn't have that Trump has is that independent wealth to say, hey, I'm doing what's best for the country, which I think is a strong argument for Trump, because DeSantis is like a normal guy. But I think that also cuts in his favor, right? Like you can see how both, they're very different in terms of their personalities and personal life. DeSantis is married to one woman, still in his 40s, 3 young kids. Trump has got a fully grown family. He's a grandpa. I'm not worried about the financial, but I do think that helps Trump a little bit in terms of establishing independence.
Look, the fact that we're even talking about, and when I say we, I don't just mean you and me and everyone listening to this, but everybody in the right across the country right now is having this discussion. And whenever you talk about Trump and the election, you're talking about DeSantis as well. He hasn't even said he's running. He's the governor of Florida. So there's something obviously going on here, right? I mean, we're all aware. And that's why I think, criticism has to be rooted in truth, or else the base eventually is just going to say, wait, hold on, what's going on here? Because DeSantis is a phenomenal governor, as not just my opinion and your opinion. Look what just happened in the election. Scoreboard, results. Look at the reality. So there are other ways to make the case, but saying he's done a bad job on COVID is not going to fly.
He's barring public high schools from teaching AP African American studies. He's taking aim at drag performances, even suggesting that he would urge the state's child protective services to investigate parents who take their own kids to one. He's actively trying to ban COVID vaccine mandates and restricting mask rules, while at the same time calling for probes into supposed wrongdoing linked to the vaccine. And he's doing all of this while making sure that anyone can walk around with a gun, no permit required. It's a right-wing fantasy land, like Disney World, but in hell. Come to Florida, the meanest place on earth.
Right-wing fantasy land, Florida. I gotta say, sounds pretty awesome to me in terms of walking around with constitutional carry, which is supposed to get done here. No COVID. The fact that they still think COVID mandates for vaccines or masks or anything other than something to be ashamed of pushing is truly mind-blowing, Clay. Also, keep pushing the parents or people who have a problem with adult men gyrating their butts in thongs in front of small children. Keep pushing it somehow. That's not weird. Yeah, good luck with that, Democrats, with the whole drag queen thing in front of the little kids. That's all. DeSantis doesn't think that adult men should be shaking their behinds and whatever in front of small children. Yes, because Ron DeSantis is a normal person who has not been brainwashed by the left. I gotta say, it's amazing branding when you have MSNBC calling your state a right-wing fantasy land, because in all the best ways, it actually is. Florida is kind of right-wing fantasy land now.
Well, what ties in with that, Buck, and I'm looking at, they just released the latest data on voter registration edge in the state of Florida. And this is the legacy, as you've got Trump at Mar-a-Lago and you've got DeSantis in Tallahassee in the governor's mansion right now. In 2018, when Ron DeSantis came into the office, Democrats had a statewide edge in voter registration of 257,175 voters. Buck, this is pretty crazy. In January of 2023, which just basically has been completed, Republicans now have an edge of just shy, 5,000 people shy of 400,000 voters. So in the space of effectively 4 years, you have seen Florida go from a blue state in registration to not only just a red state in registration, it's flipped by 650,000 voters. Now, we know DeSantis won by 19 points in the state of Florida, but the legacy to me going forward is you're going to have to really screw up as Republicans to lose the state of Florida in the presidential election or to lose one of the statewide political offices, whether it's one of the two senatorships or the governorship. That's a pretty stellar resume to have to be able to leave behind.